there, Stampers. Christy here from the Stamp Cycle, and welcome to another video for my YouTube channel and blog. Today's card, we're going to be using the Celebrations Duo textured embossing folders. These embossing folders are in the Occasions catalog, and they're also carrying over to the new annual catalog. So when I first saw these embossing folders, I didn't realize just how cool they were and the really neat effects that you can do with these, but I'm glad I got them and I've been playing around with them. And I wanted to emboss inside of that embossed word you see there, and I'll show you how to do that later. First, I want to stamp out my flowers that I'm going to be creating bundles of flowers around that celebrate sentiment. So I have the Jar of Love stamp set, and I'm going to be stamping several of the images from that stamp set. And because these are photopolymer, you want to put something cushiony behind your cardstock when you go to stamp. Photopolymer stamps, because they're not like the cling mount where they have the cushion built in, it does help to put some sort of pad or maybe craft foam behind those. So I use this fantastic stamping pad from Stampin' Up, and it works really great with photopolymer stamps. I'm stamping the largest floral image from that stamp set. The pink flower, I used Blushing Bride with Flirty Flamingo, and I'm going to go in and also stamp a blue flower, and for that I'm using Pool Party with Bermuda Bay for the darkest color in that flower. Now there's also two flowers that are combined into one stamp. They give you a smaller floral image, and for that I'm going to be using So Saffron, and then the darker color is going to be Daffodil Delight. You'd be surprised how well the Daffodil Delight does show up against that So Saffron. And then there is some small leaves also in this stamp set, and I'm going to be using the smallest leaf, and I'm going to stamp several of those in Pear Pizzazz ink. So before I stamped out all of these colors together to make these flowers, I did try several different color combinations on a piece of typing paper just to make sure that I had the right color combination and that I liked the way these colors kind of blended together. So that's a tip for you. If you aren't sure about color combinations, try it on a piece of typing paper first, and that way you don't ruin your good cardstock. So now I just took the coordinating dies for the Jars of Love, and I cut out some old olive cardstock with that large leaf die, and then I also cut out the coordinating dies for all of those floral images that we stamped earlier. So now I want to show you how I did that embossed, the gold embossed inside of the Celebrate embossing folder. First, I want to line the embossing folder up, run it through my Big Shot, and you get this really cool effect. It's almost like a de-embossed instead of an embossed image. So that Celebrate sentiment is actually impressed into the piece of paper. So it's flat on top, and that's how it allows you to be able to stamp right over the sentiment without getting ink into, the Celebrate well there. So I'm going to be using this wood grain stamp, background stamp, and I'm using my Misty stamping tool just to make sure I get a really good impression of that wood grain background, and you can see how great the results are. It's really cool that you can stamp over this embossed Celebrate sentiment, and the inside of the sentiment stays white. So there's all kinds of things that you can do here with that. So there's a couple ways that you can get the embossing powder into the wells of that sentiment. You can apply your Versamark ink pad directly onto the embossing folder and then emboss the word Celebrate. I find that using this Versamark pen, so the Versamark pen has a brush tip, but then it also has this fine detailed tip. And I found that using that Versamark pen really allows me to be able to have more control over where the Versamark ink is applied. And I got better results using this pen as opposed to applying the Versamark pad directly onto the embossing folder. So I just used the fine tip of that Versamark pen to outline the Celebrate word inside the well, and then I applied some gold embossing powder to that, and it stuck just inside where I put that pen. And then I just used a clean dry paintbrush to push any excess powder that was outside of that into the well, and then I just heated it with my heat gun, and that's how you get that really cool gold embossing powder inside of the sentiment. So now I'm just going to trim off a little bit. I'm going to trim off about 1/8 of an inch from the bottom edge and then from the side edge there as well. So this will give me a nice panel to mount onto a card base. So I have a card base made out of Sahara Sand cardstock, and it is going to be a side folding A2 card, and that is the same color that I used to stamp that wood grain background. I'll just adhere that to my card base using some Tombow glue, and then now I'm going to just work on arranging all of my flowers. So I set the original card that I made there off to the side to use as a guide, and I used a combination of Stampin' Dimensionals and then just some Tombow glue, and I just took the flowers and just started making little bouquets. I wanted to put one right above the Celebrate there on the left, and then another smaller bouquet down on the right hand corner below the E of that Celebrate. So I have flowers and leaves here, and I just pop those up using some dimensionals, and then for the leaves I used, like I said, the Tombow glue. Now, when you're using Tombow glue for something like this, you want to go really light-handed. You don't want the glue to seep out the edges because that'll make the front of your card sticky. And I just adhered those all together, and it gave me some really nice just flower accents. I cut down those old olive pieces to fit behind the popped up flowers, and that finished off my card. So thanks guys for stopping by. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. If you need more information about the supplies used in today's video, hop on over to my blog at www.thestampcycle.com. Feel free to leave any questions in the comments below, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Thanks. Bye.